All right, good morning and afternoon, wherever you are. This is Nyasha from BillyOnAir, and today we have a special guest. I'm sure you really will enjoy the topic of our show today, which is really demystifying insurance in construction. With me today is Jack, and we're going to let him introduce himself. I'm sure you've seen some of his podcasts, and I'm really lucky to be having a conversation with him. How are you today, Jack?
I'm excellent. Thanks for having me, Nyasha. It's always great to talk to you, and I feel super lucky because I've seen you on video and in real life 3 or 4 times in the last month. So not everyone can say that, and I feel like a lucky person. But yeah, my name is Jack Blank. I'm the construction technology manager at Coakley & Williams Construction. My major focus is in efficiency and operational excellence, getting everyone on the same page, and producing repeatable workflows where everyone can do kind of the same things over and over again successfully and enjoy working less hard and getting more done.
Mm-hmm. And how did you get into construction, operational efficiency, and technology?
Sure. I think every good construction technology person has a background in construction itself, right? So I went to University of Maryland. I was a civil engineering major. And at Maryland Civil, you can either do construction or you do state highway. And so I got an internship at the construction company, worked on the University of Maryland Health Center project as an intern. And then I just kept doing construction for the next 15 plus years. And then about 5 years ago, I made the pivot into construction technology as a focus, really out of kind of a long-standing interest in technology and efficiency, and kind of always being the Procore point person, working with the Procore reps and customer success managers. And it's a really good opportunity to help everyone be 5 to 10% better instead of being the best me I could be, which is obviously limiting in how good that can be. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm the weird person who enjoys their job every single day, and each day is more and more fun. So I'm that weirdo now. I didn't think that was a thing that was possible, but it is true. It can be done, and I did that. So really excited about it.
Yeah, a construction technology specialist definitely required in construction companies because of all the efficiencies you can unlock with technology. And one of the things we want to discuss today is just difficulties about something that most people might not really pay much attention to, which is insurance. And I just wanted to get a take from you on what you've experienced, what you can relate to, and then we'll jump into more questions as we go along.
Sure, that's a great question there. Yeah, the world of construction insurance is confusing to the average project management professional, right? Their focus is always getting contracts signed, maybe work on the schedule, getting materials, submittals across, RFIs. And insurance in itself is often seen as that checkbox to get paid for the sub. And at that point, you're 40 to 60 days late. Project management folks don't know what they're looking at. If a company doesn't have a centralized risk management department, you're expecting a 21-year-old project engineer to send out a bunch of emails asking for insurance and then putting in a folder somewhere on the off chance that someone has an incident, gets hurt, or damages some property. So it's never been, again, I've worked at a number of different construction companies, and it's either a log jam, bottleneck process that a couple people are reviewing all the insurance certificates, or it falls on people who don't know what they're looking at and they're happy they got anything. And none of those scenarios are any good. Nothing. If something's a bottleneck, then people are going to work around the system to get stuff done. So that means you're bringing subs on site without insurance in some cases, which is obviously very bad. And so that's not a thing that should be. And again, the fact that all places really check that insurance is in place and approved, they check that before they send out a sub payment, which again, as I said, suggests that they've been working on site for at least a month without insurance.
Well, that was a great explanation of why project managers sometimes struggle with insurance. And what's the worst that could go wrong on a project if insurance is not handled correctly?
I mean, There's so many things that could go wrong. I think, the least worst thing that could happen is, you have the sub on site with deficient insurance, and nothing really bad happens. It's just a bad look. Worst thing that could happen is someone gets seriously hurt or destroys something, and then you're not covered by that policy because they don't have it. So that's a struggle. That's it's definitely something that you don't want to be in a position where you're not sure if people have insurance, if you don't know where it is in process. Other bad things could be, the sub can't show up on site. Let's say you are following the rules and it's time to start, masonry, and the mason doesn't have an insurance certificate that's been approved. They can't start work. So you're already starting behind the 8 ball.
Wow. And it sounds like nobody in construction companies owns this workflow of verifying, collecting insurance. From a construction technology perspective, how should designing this workflow work, and who should own these workflows around construction insurance?
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, some places do have a centralized insurance and risk management department, but again, their job is to check their boxes where they can. I think in the end, it's the project management. They're ensuring that the right subs show up with the right setup. So it's them having a signed contract, it's having the insurance. So any technology product or technology workflow needs to follow, obviously, logic, and it needs to be simple and easy to review and process at a high level, and then break down to low levels. You're looking at things like automated requests for insurance, pulling the subcontractors from Procore, because we're already writing their contracts. Those are the subs we need to get them from. And then backfilling that, so when we go look on a regular basis at our team meeting or our subcontractor project manager meeting, you can have those real world conversations of, the system told me that you're coming due, or those automated follow-ups that again save a couple emails here and there, but that stuff adds up. So if the PM doesn't have to write 20 emails to subs, hey, your insurance is coming due, or the PE doesn't have to do it, then all of a sudden you have time to have a sit down with a sub who might be struggling with getting an insurance certificate that meets the standard, and you have you have the capacity to use our big brains to solve problems instead of wasting our time writing monotonous emails and unanswered phone calls.
And in a construction company, when the decision is made to roll out a technology, let's just say Billy, to help you power construction insurance with Procore, what is the conversation like internally, and how do you get everybody on board with using the new technology for that workflow?
Yeah, I think every company's dynamic is different, and every company again has different roles, and people respond to things differently. But regardless, you have to have the upper management to project executives, or whatever a company would call that position. They need to be on board with the expectations are that if they're expecting to have all subs be on site with insurance that's approved and acceptable, then we're going to move forward with the process that makes that efficient and sustainable, because the cost and risk comparison is a no-brainer, right? So someone like me, or someone who's pitching for getting that technology, I think the most important thing is finding your executive who's going to be your advocate, and then on top of that, in letting the people who are actually doing the functional work understand that how this is making their lives easier. It's replacing a process that was unsustainable, no matter what it is, whether it's insurance or any other process, and then show them why it's a better way. And then from there, the expectation at the top is, this is what I'm seeing. You're not seeing an Excel spreadsheet tracking an insurance or buyout or whatever you're doing. You're looking at Procore, you're looking at Power BI dashboard, you're looking at a auto-generated report from Billy or whatever system you're using. Because in that case, then that's what that forces the change, right? You're not allowing folks to do things different ways. I talked to a number of people, when they're doing things like change orders or budgets in spreadsheets still, and they go and look at well, how do you stop people from doing that? And it's like, you don't accept those forms of information. You show up to a meeting with an Excel spreadsheet for the PCO log, and you say, come back with the Procore report. Come back with a dashboard, come back with, I'm not looking at your buyout. Well, I'm not looking at your budget in a spreadsheet. I need to see the Procore budget report. So if you get everyone to buy into what you're doing and don't accept anything less than the standard, then that's the standard that you're going to set, and that's what you're going to get, and get everyone on board.
How long usually does it take to get everybody on board once a new software has been purchased and you got to talk to the internal people about getting on board with a new workflow, and then on the other side, there are the trade partners who may have to interact with the technology as well?
I think that just really depends. It's one of those great answers. It just depends. It's something like when I came to Coakley & Williams Construction, I broke down how we did the budgets. Initially, I think once I started the process of re-educating people how they should do things, that took 2 or 3 months to really get people on board. And then, now 5 years later, like that's the expectation. And then we're pushing that limit further with analytics and dashboards and things. But I think once people start seeing that something is an improvement, it helps. I'm trying to think of any other products. It depends on the rollout too. Like if you're doing something that, is something as basic as like paying subcontractors or getting insurance, you're flipping a switch, hey, everyone's doing this thing, then that may only take one cycle of a project for people to really get on board. Can't think of anything in particular. Looking at perhaps, think of something exciting for you now. Open space, for example. Again, we had a couple jobs started, and then people started to get jealous, which was great. And then more and more people wanted it, but that's like a cool, like hard hat camera thing where like everyone's going to want it. We recently, say in the last year, started using Textura. That's something that the subs look at, but kind of the selling point is you're going to get paid faster and you're going to like it, And so I think that helps. I think insurance probably has a similar sales pitch where project teams, you're not going to be hassling with insurance certs, with emails, with any of that stuff. This makes it easier for you. Hey, subs, we're going to guarantee that you've got what you need to have. And, you're going to show up on site knowing that you're covered and that you're going to get paid because the box was checked in the system. So I think it's just communication, education, and ensuring that everybody is on board. I've been at plenty of places where they try to roll stuff out in a, hey, we have one meeting and this is what we're doing. And then everyone goes back and is like, nah, it's aight. And they don't do that. And it's just really like, I think what Jocko Willink said, leadership is what you're willing to accept, and so if you're willing to accept people kind of doing this, then that's what you're going to get out of everything you do. But if you help people understand what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how it's going to make their lives better, then nothing is that hard.
I think you touched upon a very important thing, which is education, on the process and also what they are doing. So when we talk of insurance and project managers, obviously project managers are not insurance experts. How should software vendors like Billy go about educating the industry on things like, hey, like just getting a certificate of insurance is not the answer to saying a person has insurance, for example. On the document itself, it says, this document does not guarantee that the policy is actually there. So I just wanted to get some insights from you on how best vendors like us should educate project managers on insurance.
I think it's keeping it simple. Like I don't know how to read, so written word is really, it's not useful. But things like short videos like we're doing here, where you kind of demystify the process, break things down for people to get, and really just have people understand, the basic clicks. When I do a lot of training and education, and a lot of what I do is try to provide things in many different platforms. So it could be talking about it at a all staff meeting, putting together a live screen share, watch me click stuff, a PowerPoint slides where it's explain it like I'm 5 click-throughs, and maybe a text backup. I made a website where people can click and just find what they want to find too. So everyone learns things differently. I think that's probably the biggest thing. And then insurance specifically, again, it's always such a magical, like, someone's going to do it kind of thing. It's like, let me call the insurance broker. I'm going to email the sub and say, this is what I need. Here's a copy of the thing I had from the contract. Like, make it happen. There's numbers in our contract. It says some numbers. These look like similar numbers. I guess that's okay. Like, that to me is usually the standard of understanding. So pretty much anything beyond that is going to be groundbreaking. So
yeah. It's great that you also do this click along so people can follow along. What inspired you to do those workshops with your team, especially around technology?
Yeah, I think that's one, I like doing it. I like talking, hearing the sound of my own voice. Those are all things that bring me joy. And then on top of that, it's when I first got here about 5 years ago, or the product Teams was invented. Like, I don't know if you remember a time before Teams existed, but there was a time. And I remember thinking, like, when it came, I was like, I don't know what this is for or why I would want it. Like, I have a phone, I have email. Like, why would I want to do these things, right? So there was our IT director was like, hey, we're going to use Teams. And I saw that people really they didn't understand why they would want it or why they would use it or like how to click stuff. And I was like, hey, this seems like a good opportunity to like get everyone together and spend an hour showing them like why they should use this. Because like, if you don't know why you're using something, you're not going to use it. So we made a mandatory training where you had like 3 or 4 groups get together, and I was like walked them through. And afterwards, like, oh, this is pretty good. I think like we could keep doing things like this. And so then I collected various groups of people. I'd run the project manager meeting. I have a lot of involvement in the field meeting. I run the PE, APM, assistant super field engineer meeting. So I have lots of opportunities to train, educate, and influence people. So I use every opportunity to not only show people the way in technology, but also show them the underlying analog process that we're actually covering with the technology, so they understand like legitimately what are we doing and why are we doing it. And so once you understand those things, understanding the technology you're using is actually pretty easy. Like something like understanding the why do we have to have subcontractor insurance and why that's important. Generally, what are we looking for and what are we looking at and why that's a critical process. Then all of a sudden, whatever product you're using to collect insurance, people will get it better. And you see that in pay apps, the change orders, RFIs. I'm teaching an RFI class tomorrow at a different company, and it's like a lot of it is like, why are we doing RFIs? What is the whole purpose? What are we trying to do? And so I think once people understand the what are we doing and why are we doing it, the tech part's easy, and tech always changes too. I always think like that's like a tough activity of like actually teaching specific clicks and cells, because wait a week, wait 2 weeks, wait a month, you never know what it's going to look like and what things are actually going to do. So if you actually understand, hey, this is what I'm actually trying to do, like if you don't know that you should post an RFI to the drawings, then you're not going to look to see, well, how do I actually do this? Like, oh, I'm making cloud. That makes sense. I make a cloud up with my magic marker. And then you're like, I need to go attach the RFI. There's a paper clip. Let me click that. Oh, I can pick the RFI I just made. That's great. I just posted the drawings, which would have taken me 20 years ago, would have taken like 30 minutes because you have to fax it to someone. It's a whole bunch of stuff. So understanding the underlying process is really important. And I think that's where a lot of people, when they roll out stuff, they're just like, here's a new thing. And they're like, cool, I didn't really understand what we were doing before. And now it's a little more complex and I've got to click stuff and make a new login. This is awesome. So it's a challenge that people need to overcome. And I think we do a pretty good job at telling people like why we're doing what we're doing and kind of now how we're doing it, which is people should always grow and change and learn on how they're doing things.
And I see that you're an avid musician. Do you ever use your music skills with the guitars to educate people what and why you need to use that technology?
Are you suggesting I should make construction technology related songs as a teaching tool? I look at that angle, but I do see the connection the other way though. And construction has informed how I do music, in the sense that you're taking something that's a bunch of disconnected parts and bringing them together in a way that you're building something. And it's the motto, Cook Williams Construction is build something. and you build a building from the foundation up. Music, drums, bass, guitar, vocals, put it all together. Throw some embellishments on top, leads, harmonies. That'd be your wall hangings and painting and whatnot. And you got yourself something cool. So I think to me that's important. Schedule, how to run the schedule. I'm probably the only music producer who puts together a Microsoft project schedule for my artists. But they appreciate it and they understand, like, oh man, I need to have this done by this date. I hadn't thought about doing construction music, but if you listen to the track, I don't know if you're going to play this for everyone, but I did make you a Billy for insurance song in the middle that you'll have to find when your power went out, but can't promise it's any good.
We will definitely make it part of our next quarter release. I could definitely see you as a hype man for technology companies. So singing what and why they should use a technology with process charts too of what actually happens. Then the song becomes really sticky in people's heads as well.
Yeah, it's repetition and melody. People love it. And a good beat.
Yeah. And before we wrap up, just wanted to quickly find out, what are some of your favorite technology, pieces, tools that you are really happy about these days?
You're making me name check stuff. I'm a Procore evangelist, as they call me. Procore is the industry leader as a platform and ecosystem. I think I'll leave it at that. I think that gets me my mandated statement from Procore. I appreciate open space. I did their podcast a couple weeks ago. It's easy to use, gets you a lot of what you need. They're moving along into the new product BIM Plus that is going to add some extra features to their BIM connection, which is really cool. Anything else is good. I don't want to leave anybody out, exclusion by inclusion or exclusion by inclusion. But yeah, I think, honestly, like Procore being a really consistent platform that everyone can work in together is really helpful for offloading a lot of resources from disparate locations. So not really into sponsored content unless someone has me on their show like you did. So Billy, I don't use you guys yet, but no, I think there are a lot of really good technologies out there. So a lot of things I'd encourage every GC or construction technology manager or someone who's looking for product, trade partners, subcontractors, whoever you may be, you interview the vendor, talk to the folks who are making the developers, and walk through what your analog workflows are and processes are, understand what you're doing, why you're doing it, and then once you have a good understanding of your actual workflows, then see how that technology fits into your process. A lot of cases, people make up workflows because that's just what you had with the folders or whatever you were doing. And so if you seek to make every technology squeeze and customize into what kind of nonsense you're doing already, you're not going to have a good time. So I would say use this opportunity or every opportunity to break down what you're doing, why you're doing it, and then go back and see how can we, replace these processes or improve those processes with technology. And I think that's probably your best bet.
And I know you run a Procore community group,
yes,
which is very nice for our folks that use Procore. Let's talk a little bit about that and
Sure.
How can people join the group and learn from the group as well?
Totally. Yeah. So I am one of the leaders in the Procore Mid-Atlantic Procore community. We started, we had a big kickoff event in July. We have another activity coming up and next week. So depending on when you watch this, you may have missed it. So I'm sorry. But if you go to procorecommunitymeetings.com, you can put in your location and find a community near you where you can have open and honest conversations with your peers to find out about maybe something you might be missing in Procore or something that might be you're not using properly or some way that you can get more output out of what you're doing. And it's just kind of nice. It's in a non-sales environment. It's just a bunch of folks like me who are out there trying to do our best. I know at our most recent meeting in July, we had a presentation on action plans, which was really cool. It's a product I'd never used before, and I started working on looking at ways we could use action plans properly. We're presenting on safety and site management next week, and so I'm sure there are a lot of folks out there who don't necessarily use all the safety tools to the fullest extent. So just a way of encouraging everyone to get a full understanding of what you already have, maybe, or what things you could add that could make your experience easier and smoother. So I had procorecommunitymeetings.com will be where to look. If you are in the Mid-Atlantic, you can join my group. It's fine. We have a good group. We have free stuff. We give out hoodies and stuff. And and if you're in a region that doesn't have a group, don't be afraid to drive a little bit and go somewhere different. I know we picked up some people from the Midwest in our team because we're the most fun because we're Mid-Atlantic. But find the community near you and see what kind of friends you can make.
Perfect. And Jack, thank you so much for coming on to our show, explaining a lot about construction insurance, the workflows, and also your role as well. I appreciate you listening to our show, folks. And Jack, you want to sign us off?
Thanks, Yasha. Go build something.
Will do. See you guys.